Okay, so the second part of the class, I removed the towel from my seat because we're going on to hands and knees. So this is called tabletop position. Tabletop alignment is pretty easy to remember. The width distance of your hands are going to be the same distance as your shoulders. So from my shoulders down to the ground, I'm going to line up my hands. Now you want to spread your fingertips really wide so you have a lot of space in between each finger. Now my wrist crease here and the wrist crease here need to be parallel, closer to the top of my mat. Oftentimes people tend to have their hands turned in too much, and we just want to make sure that our wrist creases are parallel. Now if you're on the computer a lot or you're texting a lot and your wrists feel a little tight, go ahead and just do a little bit more of a turnout to begin with until you can start getting comfortable with your hands a little bit more parallel. Now with my knees and shins, my knees are going to be the same width distance as my hips. So not too narrow, not too wide, but just directly underneath your hips. You might have to play with this a little bit in order to get the right alignment. So if my back is flat, both hands are underneath the shoulders, both knees are underneath my hips, and then the feet are just lengthening nice and long. The back is flat. I just taught you seated cat-cow, and now we're going to do it in tabletop position. So in tabletop position, cat-cow, start first with your toes tucked under, get all 10 toes underneath you, and you do that same arching of the spine here. So I'm going to let my belly slowly drop towards the floor. The gaze is going directly in front of me, and I'm going to pull my shoulders back. So I'm essentially allowing my belly to drop downward towards the mat. This is the cow position. If you can think about a bunch of udders hanging from your navel, this is why they called it cow pose. Now to transition to cat, I'm going to take the tops of my feet, press them into the floor. So think about pressing all 10 toenails into the mat. Tuck your chin around the spine. Look up towards your navel point. Push into the mat with your hands a lot. Round the middle of your back upward towards the ceiling. And then you just move back and forth with your breath. Toes under, inhale, cow pose. Exhale, tops of your feet come down. Transition the spine, round all the way up to whatever feels good in your back and neck. You should feel stretch. So again, inhale, cow pose, shoulders back, heart forward, belly relaxes down. Exhale, round and curl, press into the toes, into the hands, lift the middle back to the sky. Cat pose. And again, when I'm moving through these exercises, I would want you to do this about 5 to 7 times, just going back and forth. And this is really good for the spine, just getting your back to move a little bit more. Now from here, if your wrists start to feel a little bit achy, we're going to be moving into a child's pose to give you a break. So your knees will go apart, big toes touching. Send your bottom back towards your heels. Walk your hands forward, and then just slowly start to melt your torso down. And then rest. You can rest also with your palms flipped up. That'll give you another variation. Think about your spine long, sending your tailbone back to your heels. A different variation of child's pose that's going to be good for your chest to open up involves a towel. So I'm going to place the towel in front of me. Again, you want it fairly high. Place your elbows on the towel, palms together. Send your tailbone back. Thumbs are going to go to the back of my neck. And my heart's going to melt down. And you can stay here for about 5 breaths as well, just letting yourself sink into the floor. This should feel pretty good. And then also it's a nice stretch for this whole line here in your body. So that's your resting pose. Anytime during class you need to, you just press pause, rest in child's pose, and then press play again. Okay, so from there, moving back to tabletop pose. So realign yourself, hands shoulder width, knees hips width distance. And this is an exercise that's going to help your back get a little bit stronger and your hamstrings and your glutes. Straighten your left leg back behind you, flex your toes towards your shins. So flex is my foot pointing down, pointing is like a ballerina toe point. So when I say flex, it means toes point down to the ground. You want to make sure that your hips are level, so don't overly hike your hip up. Keep your hip down, and you can just feel it. Back here, my back is fairly flat. And I want you to extend your foot out far behind you as much as you can. Try to keep your heel in line with your hip. You can tap your toe down and do leg lifts. Tap, lift, engage the leg the entire time. Tap, lift. Do this 10 times per leg. Exhale on the way up, inhale on the way down. Switching legs, come back to tabletop, realign yourself, right leg up, flex the toes. Again, keep your hip down, not hiking up. Keep the hip bone down. Tap your toe, lift, tap your toe, lift. Again, 10 per leg. There are a lot of different exercises you can do with this, but for now, I'll just start with this before I'll give you something else next time. And then come back down. To take a break after this, knees and thighs together. Tuck your toes underneath so you're on top of all of your toes. Sit back onto your heels as far as you can. This is going to feel very interesting. I promise that you'll feel it right away. Do the best you can to stay. I would stay 10 seconds if possible, 30 seconds if you can. Start to work your way up to a minute. Ideally, one day you're off your hands, okay? Sitting right onto your feet. This is a great stretch for the toes. It's a great stretch for the bottoms of the feet. Once you can get to this point and you're feeling pretty good, you're going to grab the strap or the belt. You just want to hang on to it behind you, about maybe 6-8 inches. Squeeze the shoulder blades together and reach the belt for the ground. Reach the belt also away from you, and you can just go really slowly, lengthening the belt back, lifting the chest. And this is a great way to stretch the chest. It's also going to feel really good on the feet. So again, work your way up to this. I don't expect you to be able to do this right away, but allow yourself to eventually get to this point where you can sit on your toes, stretch the chest, use the belt. And again, that's going to be really good for the bottoms of the feet and your chest. So that's the next section of class. We'll move on to the next video and I'll show you how to end the class.
Yee-hee.